The information presented in this virtual exercise program is current as of June 2022. This programming may involve diverse exercise activities encompassing a range of physical demands. Although the programming is being led by certified practitioners in the respective disciplines, you agree that you are voluntarily accepting the risks of physical activity that may be particular to your individual health and fitness circumstances, and you agree that we will not be held liable for these risks or any injuries or damages arising therefrom. Further, we are unable to monitor your health status during the programming or call for medical attention on your behalf. By participating, you warrant that you are physically capable of performing the activities of the particular program and that you will cease the activities should you begin to feel unwell at any time. The information provided by the exercise program leaders is not intended to be medical advice or personal training. We recommend that each participant discuss their medical circumstances and the programming with their physician.
Hello and welcome to the Kidney Wellness Hub. I am so glad you could join us today. My name is Brenda Brown and today's class is a gentle Hatha yoga flow class. It's basically a good class to get you moving, so it's something you could do early in the morning and to get your blood flowing, or any time of the day realistically. It's not something I would probably do in the evening though to help settle me down. It's more of an energetic class. So join me at the top of your mat or in the middle of your mat and we'll just shake everything out and we'll then get into a Tadasana or mountain pose. So we'll start in our standing pose. Essentially we'll start with our feet approximately hip width apart, with our feet well grounded or rooted into your mat. Hip width is approximately 2 fist distances apart between our feet. They can be greater apart if you like, if it's comfortable for you to add more space between your hips, or even if you like to have your toes touching. I prefer to have mine approximately the 2 fist widths apart. And you want to root your feet well down into the ground. Basically all 4 corners of your feet, some for your big toe pad, your pinky toe pad, and both of your heel pads, well rooted into the mat so you feel really grounded. And then strong up through your calves, over your kneecaps, into your thighs, into your hips so that you're nice and strong. Hug your navel through your spine so you're strong through your front and your back body. And then shoulders are roll them back away from your ears. And then we'll engage our arms strong down along our sides. Chin is level to the earth, so don't point it up or down. I want to make sure it's level. And then you can either close your eyes or just take a nice focal point or drishti in front of you. And then inhale and shake everything out and let it go. We'll just center ourselves here for a few moments. Make sure you're inhaling deeply into your belly. Sigh it all out. And again. Sigh it all out. And if your eyes are closed, slowly open them. Okay, we're going to start with a simple balance pose just to get us going. Balance poses are really good to keep us strong, and especially as we age, we need to work on our balance. We should probably work on it as much as possible. We tend to lose our balance over time, And so they're really good for us to practice on a regular basis. So we're going to work on a simple balance pose today. A lot of poses in yoga do work on our balance and engage our core, but so we're going to work on tree pose. So again, making sure that we root down through our right leg. So very similar to what we just did in Tadasana, making sure that we're well rooted through from our core foot all the way up through our right side. And then we're going to take our left leg, and we can start either just by simply holding our foot onto our shin, or you can move it up further up into our shin, just underneath onto our calf. But make sure it's underneath your knee, or you can even move it up further if it's in your practice to do so into your thigh. And there might be some wobbling involved, and this is fully natural. Trees don't stand still anyway, so neither should your body. You're always going to feel some movement, and you can bring your hands into prayer, Angelina Mudra, in front of you, making sure that you're holding your core stable. That's where you're going to get that energy from and that stability, to make sure that you're holding yourself steady as much as possible. Or you can bring your arms up into full tree, sway a little bit from side to side if you like. Make sure you're breathing. Feel that energy coming up all the way from the root of your foot, through your core, up through your shoulders. And then we're just going to slowly release that down to meet the other foot, and then shake it all out. Okay, then root yourself down on your left foot. Again, taking it all the way from the bottom of that foot, making sure it's strongly rooted into the ground, just like a tree trunk, up through that left hip, in through your core, and then bring that foot wherever it might feel comfortable today. And it could be different on this side than it was on the other side. So again, either up onto your calf or up into your thigh. And that could be completely different on this side, like I said, than the other. This one, my foot isn't even going to be able to go into that. And make sure it's just not sitting on your knee. You don't want to put any pressure on that knee. Try and turn that leg out to the side as much as possible. And if you fall out of it, that's okay, that's totally natural. Just come back into your tree. Maybe bring your arms back up again. Remember to breathe into your core. If you feel like your tree's going through a storm, that's all right. Our bodies go through storms all the time. So do the trees. Bring your hands back down. Bring that leg back around and just shake it all out. Okay, we're going to just come back down onto the mat for a little bit here. Wake up our spine a little bit into tabletop. We're going to do our cat-cow. It's the best way to wake up our spine first thing in the morning. So wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips, and a cat goes up, high back, rounded, neck goes down on your exhale. On your inhale, belly comes towards mat, neck comes a little bit forward into cow. So just do a couple of rounds with your breath. Exhale. Inhale. Just waking up that spine. Go as fast or as slow as feels good for you. You can even bring a little bit of hip movement into it, just to help wake up that spine and get it moving. Okay, now take your hands out a little bit in front of you, and we're going to move our hips up into a downward dog. So push the hips all the way up with your toes tucked and back, arms out in front of you, long line with your back.
Heels, with your intention, your heels are going back towards the mat. They may never reach there, that's fine. And your arms are pushing away from the earth. Strength and integrity through your arms and your shoulders, down through your back, up with your hips towards the sky. Then take your right leg up into a three-legged dog. Bend your right knee and then move it forward, front to meet your hands, right in between your hands. And then lower your back knee. So you're in a low runner's lunge. And just allow that front lower part of your body to just lower up slightly. So you're feeling a stretch through that left hip flexor. Let's take a couple of breaths here. Plant both hands down beside your foot, and then take that, lift your back leg up, take your right foot back to meet it, back into downward dog. Pushing away from the earth with your hands, hips up into sky, as we did before. Really feeling that in your lower back, down through your quadriceps. And then lift your left leg up into three-legged dog. Bend your knee and bring it forward between your hands. If it needs a little bit of help, that's okay. And then lower your back knee to meet the mat. And again, just rise up slightly so your chest is forward, sinking a little bit deeper into that right hip, feeling that hip flexor, just stretching a little bit along this right side. Up on fingertips, breathing into it. On this next one, we're going to lift our back leg and step forward to meet our front into a forward fold. And you may bend your legs as much as necessary to have your front body meet your thighs. Feel that stretch through the lower back. Allow your head to hang heavy towards the earth. You can shake it yes or no. Put your hands on shins, halfway rise. Exhale to fold. Take another breath here and then ragdoll all the way up. Vertebrae by vertebrae, slowly up. Last part should rise, should be your shoulders and your head into Tadasana. Roll those shoulders back away from ears. Okay, we're just gonna come a little bit forward so you can see me here. We're gonna bring our legs a little bit wider apart. Good way to measure this is to put your wrists so that they're approximately above your ankles on either side. So approximately that width apart. And we're going to do a couple of goddess squats. So we'll just come down, all the way down with our back trying to keep our back long, bend our legs, and then we'll just come back up. And then on the next time, when we go down, we're going to bring our arms up into a cactus arms. So up, and then down, okay? So inhale, down, and up. And one more time, inhale, down, and up. Okay, one more time, down. And then hold it. Bring your arms to center. We'll just come to prayer. Inhale. Make sure you're holding that core in with your back. And then we'll come back up. Okay, now we're going to go into Warrior 2 or Virabhadrasana 2. On this left side, we'll turn that left foot towards the short end of the mat, keeping this foot in parallel with the right side of the mat. And then once you've keep all this, we're going to bend into this knee that's pointing towards the short side of the mat. And your hips are still facing forward. So your hips are still facing forward, your shoulders are stacked above hips, your core is strong, you're hugging navel to spine. Keep all this. Then raise your hands, your arms, and look over your fingers that are pointing over knee, the bent knee, and breathe. Now bend the front arm, put it on the bent knee, raise the back arm so it's pointing straight towards the sky, or you can bring it forward over the front of your ear, pointing towards the short end of the mat. This is side angle. On your next inhale, we'll come back up to standing, into Warrior 2, and then we'll bring that front leg straight, straighten out that toe, so your legs are both, your feet are both parallel, back into our goddess position. So we're in goddess legs again. This time we're going to fold forward into a forward fold, so hold your hands on your waist, and from your waist we're going to bend forward. So only as far as feels comfortable for you to go forward. Try not to lock your knees, so they can be a slight bend or micro bend in your knees. And come forward. You can hang on to your ankles if that's comfortable for you. And then put your hands on shin, halfway rise. Exhale to fold. And then with strength, put your hands on your hips, come all the way back up to standing. Okay, now we're going to go to Warrior 2 on the other side. So exactly what we did on this side. We're going to turn this foot to point to the short side of the mat, keeping our hips squared towards the long side of the mat, shoulders squared above the hips. We're going to bend into that forward knee so that our leg is trying to be parallel with the mat. It may never be exactly parallel, but that's what the intention is. We can still see that front toe, so we're not hiking ourselves over that at all. We're trying to keep the knee above the ankle. And then once we kept all that, keeping the integrity and the strength in both these legs. The back leg is just as important to hold the strength in as it is the front. The back foot has lots of strength holding it in place. Then we raise our arms and we look over that front hand. You can always try to flip your hands to make sure that they're parallel and strong, and then flip them back to make sure your shoulders are back down your back and away from your ears so you're not crunching your shoulders up. One more breath here, and then we're going to do our side angle. So take a bend into that front arm, put it down on that front knee. You don't want to dump all into your whole weight into that front knee at all. You're just bending into that front knee and opening up the front body. And then you put your arm either up if this is comfortable, or bring it over forward so you can feel that stretch in that front side body. Maintaining the bend in the front knee. Working with your breath. And then inhale, back up to standing. And then straighten that front foot back into our goddess position. Okay. Roll your shoulders back and down your back. Now we're going to take your left foot and point it in that direction, back towards the short end that we just did before. And we're going to take this hip and jut it out towards the back side, the other side. Lean in towards the pointed foot. Lean ourselves forward and then bend down so that our hand comes to the outside of our shin or to the mat, whichever is going to be comfortable to allow our chest to still remain open on the inside. So it could be just here, is as far as we come, or it could be, if it's more comfortable to come to the inside, that's okay, or the outside, whichever is going to be your position for today. You can use a block if you have a block to allow you to still maintain that openness in your chest. And your arm comes up. Triangle pose. The idea is to stack these two arms and shoulders. And you can look forward or up. One more breath. On your inhale, rise and come up. Bring that foot back, pointing to the front. And we're going to go to the other side. So point to the other short end side of the mat. We're going to take that hip and go out to the side and lean ourselves this to the other side of the room so you're in parallel with this foot. And again, find that position that's going to allow you to maintain the openness in your chest, and then slowly come down either to the inside or the outside of that foot or the shin, and then open your arm up to the sky. On your next inhale, rise with strength using your core. And we'll turn our foot back into the goddess stance. And then we're going to take our hands back to our hips, go back into a forward fold. So slowly, with integrity and strength, come back to our forward fold, all the way down as far as you can. If it's comfortable for you. And we're going to go to the right side. Take your left hand over to the right side, just with a stretch over to the right side. Try not to lock your knees at all, so keep a micro bend in the knees. You're not locking your knee. And then walk your hands and your body over to the left side. Walk your hands back to center. Keep your hands on center. With your left, keep your left hand on the floor. Take your right hand and twist up to sky. And then release the right hand down to the floor. Take the left hand and twist up to sky. And then release the hand. And then bring both hands to your waist. And then slowly rise up to standing. Okay. Now we're going to heel toe ourselves back to Tadasana. Roll our shoulders back. Shake it all out. And then we're going to come down to the floor, all the way down to our bellies. And we'll have place your hands firmly out in front of you with your forearms down to elbows, with shoulders stacked above elbows, into Sphinx pose. So that your chests are above the ground. This is a slight back bend. Just giving yourselves a bit of a back bend with support. You can look out in front of you. Just breathe into this. Allow your belly to sink towards the earth. Chest remains up, looking forward. Hands and forearms are supporting you. Shoulders are high, but belly is sinking into the mat. One more inhale. Tuck your toes, and we'll roll over onto our backs. Once on our backs, bring your feet flat on with your knees bent, but bring your heels close to your bottom as possible so that your fingers can maybe touch your heels. Your upper body should all be flat, or as flat as possible, onto the mat, onto the earth. We're going to do a couple of bridge poses, or at least 2 bridge poses. So what that means is we're going to raise our pelvis up into the sky on an inhale. But keep your palms on the ground, your upper body on the ground, especially your shoulders and your neck. You don't want your chin to go up high. or try and put any kind of pressure onto your neck where it's going to be yanked in any way, shape, or form that it's going to cause strain on your neck. You want to be able to engage your core to be able to give it this stability that it needs to help raise your pelvis. And then your legs will also help raise your pelvis off the earth. So on an inhale, your next inhale, get rid of all that stale air. And inhale, hips and bottom to sky. Keep your knees pointing high, don't let them flail out. Making sure that your neck is not pointing up too high to the sky. And it's level. If you want to take a bind with your hands underneath your bottom, you can. Otherwise, you can just keep them on flat on the earth. On the next exhale, we will slowly release the hold vertebrae by vertebrae. The last thing to come down should be your bottom. Okay, we're going to try that one more time. So again, making sure that the upper body, your shoulders in particular, and the upper part of your ribs and your back should remain on the mat. And you can take a bind if you want to with your hands underneath, but otherwise you can just keep your hands on the mat. The most important part is to make sure that your knees aren't flailing out any way, shape, or form, because you want to make sure that the strength and integrity of the lower part of your body is being maintained. And if it starts to hurt for any reason, then just come on back down. And you can also do this supported with a block if that's better for you until you gain some strength. And practice bridge. It's really good for all kinds of strength in your pelvis, strength in your abdominals, in your side body. It works all kinds of parasympathetic nervous system works. It's good for all kinds of different strength training as well as flexibility. So on your next inhale, rise up. And then on your next exhale, slowly release. And then take your feet wide as the mat and allow your knees to knock together in reverse butterfly. It's a counter pose to give some relaxation to your lower back. Now take both knees high and give them a hug. Might give a little bit of movement, rocking side to side. Give your lower back a little bit of a massage. Take one knee high so that the foot is like it's stepping on the ceiling. Take your, your right leg will have it so that your foot stepping on the ceiling. Take your right hand on the inside of that leg, and your hand is coming on the outside of that foot. Allow your left leg to go down into onto the foot floor, and then just pull slightly that knee in towards your shoulder, your armpit, even at the same time as that foot is like it's trying to step onto the ceiling. So this is half happy baby. It's a nice good stretch for your hip.
You might want to take it a little bit wider if you want a little bit deeper into your hip. Or you can bring it closer and play with it a little bit, moving it in and out of the hip socket. Okay, and release that down to the mat. And then take your left leg, step that foot up onto the ceiling, or as if it's stepping up onto the ceiling, figuratively speaking. Take your left hand from the arm on the inside of that knee, but the left hand comes on the outside of the foot, and then pull it towards your shoulder as if the foot is still stepping on the ceiling. And again, you can play with it, bringing it in and out of the socket, moving it, that hip, giving it a little bit of hip movement, or move it around. Any last little movements you might want, or just pull it gently in, giving it some last minute love and stretch in that hip, those quads, the hamstring. And then release. Take those legs long, give them a little shake, shake out your arms. And then do whatever last minute movements you might need for your Shavasana. So if you want a nice little pad for your neck, an eye pillow to give you some darkness, put on a blanket or a sweater, some socks, whatever it is that you need to make yourself comfortable for Shavasana, I suggest you go and do that right now. Get yourself comfortable, and then we'll get into our Shavasana. Let go of any breathing practices you might have been trying to maintain during this practice. Thank your body for all its work. Allow your body to melt into the mat. Let go of any muscle energy. Start wiggling your fingers and toes. Bringing some heat back into your body. Take a big inhale and exhale. Start becoming more aware of what's going on around you. Take a big long stretch from your fingertips to your toes. Give your knees a big hug. And then roll to one side into the fetal position. Another big deep breath. Maybe set an intention for your day. Push yourself up into a comfortable seated position, whatever that might look like for you. Another big deep inhale. I hope you enjoyed today's Gentle Flow yoga class. Thanks again for joining us. I look forward to seeing you back here at the Kidney Wellness Hub. Please don't forget to take the short wellness survey and help us to continue to bring value-added content. Thank you. Namaste.
This video is brought to you by the Kidney Foundation of Canada, BC and Yukon branch. Please remember to like and subscribe. You can continue to watch another video or return to the Kidney Foundation Wellness Hub by clicking on the direct link in the description box below. If you would take a moment to fill out our short survey found below as well, we would greatly appreciate your input. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.